Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here with a very special guest today. And so we are streaming live, and I am joined. Ooh, to mute that now.
What happened?
All right.
Okay.
That's really good. Sorry about that, friends. I had YouTube open in another tab to make sure that we went live, and we did.
Yay.
So I just needed to mute that tab. So we're all good now. And I see we have a couple of friends that are joining us. So if you have any questions for us, please feel free to pop them in the comments, and Christine and I will talk through it. So first, I'm going to introduce myself
Uh-oh. I hope
to
I'm
you
not
a little bit.
sneezing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You're good? Okay. Yeah. So my name is Jessica A's, for those of you who don't know me, and I am the designer behind Double the Stitches, the host of the Stitch Society membership. But beyond all of that, and what is most important for you to know this week, is that I am the host of the Knit Happy Summit. And this is the fourth time that we are hosting this event. It is free to join us, free to sign up. We start this Thursday through Sunday. And it is a gathering of some of my favorite people in the world, fellow designers, indie dyers, fiber artists, tech editors, all kinds of people who have really invested their life in the yarn world and want to give back a little bit. And so we've all gotten together and we have shared presentations about our favorite things, our shortcuts. This one is called Knit Happy Summit Beyond the Basics. So we're going beyond like how to cast on basic knit and purl, and what can you do beyond that. So I'm excited to share more about the summit, but first I want to give Christine a chance to tell you all about her.
Hi, everybody. I am Christine, Treasure Goddess, and I dye yarn in the middle of the U.S. I am just a little bit outside of Kansas City in a big red barn on 10 acres. And I'm actually a yarn pirate, even though I have no beach. I am the furthest from any beach that is possible to be. I put pirate sheep on everything.
I love
And
it.
in my soul, I'm a yarn pirate. And so everything that I dye is like the most luxurious. I am an unapologetic yarn snob. So I am a dyer and I dye the most yummy yarn because that's what I love. And I love saturated colors. And in the last couple of years, I have finally branched out and found a way to deal with dyeing and knitting with plant based fibers. And I was a plant-based yarn hater for years, like absolutely hated it, had bad experiences. And I finally embraced it and figured out like to listen to the yarn and have learned to actually love it, which is weird. And I want to share what I've learned with you guys. So that's a lot of what I will be talking about. But I'm super excited to hear. Let's hear a little like about the whole Knit Summit all as a whole, because I was a watcher last year, but I have had a lot of questions from people. So I want to kind of ask Jessica to go over like what are some of the concepts that you can learn, or even if you know them, that you can kind of expand your horizons.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to be here with you. We were just talking before we went live about how Christine is here to answer a lot of those questions that come up in my world so often. So I live in New York. I actually don't live far from the beach. I live about 45 minutes from the beach. I used to live on the beach, which was that first apartment, after college with a friend, and so it,
Wow.
yeah, like out the back of the co-op building that we lived in was the beach, which was amazing. Very sandy though, lots of sand in that apartment.
Yes.
Yeah, so it comes up so often, this, what do I do if I'm allergic to wool? What do I do if I live where it's a billion degrees and I sweat from the moment that I wake up to the moment I go to sleep? And that, wool is temperature regulating, but it's not the perfect choice for everyone. And so there is so much out there. So when we were talking before, I was so excited that Christine said yes to be part of the summit. And so I want to talk you through. First, I want to make sure you have the link to sign up to join us. So you can use Christine's affiliate link. It's down at the bottom of the screen. It is knithappysummit.com/treasuregoddess. And I'll tell you a little bit more about why that is important as we go through the whole process. So I have the sign up page loaded on my computer. So I'm going to share my screen if everything works. Fingers crossed with me.
Sorry.
And I think that's the right one. We will see.
Oh,
All right.
looks like
So
it. Yay.
you should see both Christine and I on the screen, and also this is the registration page, the sign up page. So if you haven't signed up to join us, it is not too late. We start on Thursday morning. We've got a quick little kickoff call tomorrow afternoon just so that I can go through everything with everyone and give you a chance to know how to navigate the summit and all of that, so that you'll be prepared for when all of the presentations start on Thursday. So like I said, so it's May 14th through 17th. It's Thursday through Sunday. And the focus of this particular summit, this is the fourth Knit Happy Summit. And I wanted to kind of hone in a little bit more and niche down a little bit to going beyond the basics. So beyond the, super simple garter stitch scarf or garter stitch blanket, or stockinette sweater, what can you do beyond that? Once you've got those stitches, the knits and the purls, what else can you do? And sometimes we get kind of stuck in a rut. We get comfortable with knitting the same, washcloth, the same project over and over again. And we have knit that same thing for everyone we know.
Everybody's had it for presents. I did that for the first year. Everybody got scarves. It was a lot of scarves. People that also lived in warm climates and did not appreciate wool garter stitch scarves, but everyone I know got garter stitch scarves.
And so I wanted to kind of bring different people from different corners of the world. And we are a global group, not only within our speakers, but also within our attendees. So we're going a little bit deeper into the basics of everything and talking about, I need to be able to scroll my screen.
There we go.
That will work. All right. So, so the idea is to help you get past that feeling of being stuck, past that feeling of being intimidated by taking on a new type of project, a new type of stitch, and kind of be challenged a little bit within your hobby that you already are maybe a little obsessed with. But to take on these new skills with some joy in your life, a feeling of confidence, and a supportive community cheering you on. So it is a 4-day event. It is 100% virtual. So it is join us from your favorite comfy spot where you love to knit, or, an internet, a cafe, a coffee shop, wherever you have internet access, you can join us. We actually have, it says 25 plus, but there are 29 speakers plus myself. So we've got 30 people coming together to help you make things that maybe feel a little bit complex more simple. So in order to sign up for the summit, and this comes up a lot, is sign up for free with just your name and your email address. And I'll show you that process after I talk through a little bit more that's here on this page. But in order to join us, that's all you need is your name and your email address. I need your email address so that I can send you information about everything that's going on during the event. So make sure you give me one that you're going to check. Yeah. And so if for some reason that form isn't working, there's a link to a different form that you can use to sign up. So we talked a little bit about that. We're closing that gap between those simple projects that you've been making on repeat and those beautiful ones that you have been dreaming about. So there's that gap, and we want to help you transform how you approach your projects and not feel like you have to figure it out all on your own. So I'm going to skip past. I don't want to read the whole page to you. You can read that on your own. I want to talk about some of our topics and some of our speakers. So we have everyone broken down into 4 days. There are presentations released each morning of the summit, starting Thursday morning at 10 o'clock Eastern, which would be 11 o'clock, I think, or 9 o'clock where you are, Christine.
11 o'clock Eastern would be 10 o'clock Central.
10 o'clock, so 9 o'clock in Christine's corner of the world.
Yes.
And we are joined by, and you'll have 48 hours to watch each group of presentations. So there's 8 to 10 presentations each of the 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then you get 48 hours to watch them. So the presentations that are released until Saturday morning, Friday's presentations until Sunday, and so on. So we have Dawn Prickett, one of my favorite people from Twice Shared Sheep, and she is talking about free cabling and expanding the boundaries of knitted possibilities is what she called it.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it is it's a different way of cabling. And so she's really excited to share that with you all. If you have been intimidated by lace, then you'll want to watch Kirsten's presentation. And she's talking about how to build your confidence with some lessons in lace knitting. Hortense is joining us to talk about how to use any yarn for your pattern, how to swap the gauge. And
Ooh,
Joy is
yeah, that's a huge one. Yay.
it
Sorry.
is, yeah, and that's also perfect for, substituting maybe a pattern that is written to be knit with wool and you want to use a different fiber. Gauge is always the answer. I hate to say it, but we do, there's a little bit of math, but Hortense makes it easy. Joy is talking about why slip stitch color work is easier than you may think. It is kind of the broader category of mosaic knitting. Mosaic knitting is like a subset of slip stitch. So Joy is going to talk about that. And Janessa is talking about why a test swatch will save your knitting beyond just how big are my or small are my stitches, but all the different things that we can actually learn from knitting a test swatch for your pattern. Lisa is talking about 3 decisions that will make or break a pocket. If you're knitting a cardigan or a sweater or something and you want to add a pocket, she even has a pocket template for you as a free gift. Jill is talking about finding joy on the needles. And Katie is talking about 3 cast-ons and bind-offs to add to your knitter's toolbox. Something that comes up a lot is what actually is test knitting. So Lena is going to talk all about that, what it is, how to get started, what's involved, what's expected, both I think on the side of the knitter as well as what you should expect from a designer that is hosting a test knitting call. And Rachel is here to talk about how to visit a yarn show without overwhelm. So like a yarn show, a fiber festival, or even if you're visiting a local yarn store, but you don't get to go that often. She's got lots of great tips for planning out your visit to make that a little bit less overwhelming. Before I go on to day 2, I'm just going to pop over and check and see if we have any questions in the chat. And just some friends saying hello. And Laura, I'm glad that you are feeling better. Laura had gotten sick a couple weeks ago, and so she's on the mend. And hi to Debbie and Sally. I'm happy that you're all here joining us. And
I really like how you broke the categories down into kind of slightly similar, each one just kind of the category works with the flow. So you can get in that time, that mind frame for the day as you're watching along.
Oh, thank you. It's not easy.
I know. There's so many.
Naming a knitting pattern is harder, but but yeah, I try to group things together kind of with a theme. And so we're going a little bit deeper into some exploring and experimenting with our yarn, some things that might feel a little bit scary, but we want you to kind of play with your yarn and stretch your skills a little bit.
Expand those knitting horizons. It really is a game changer once. And my one thing before we get in there is one thing I've seen from a lot of these people are going to also want you to do is don't save that yarn just for, when I'm good enough, or down the road when I've got the perfect project. Like use the best things you can because that's going to help you. And especially when you're experimenting with techniques and everything else is always better with the good quality things. So
yes,
absolutely.
I see that
do
also.
Some experimenting.
Yes, knitters will sometimes practice with like that red heart acrylic that's been sitting in the bottom of their stash for a long time, but they plan to knit it with the project with something different. So that no knocking, the less the more economical yarns, they all have their place in the knitting world. But
Absolutely.
if you're planning to knit something in silk, testing out the swatch in acrylic, it's not an even swap. It's not a match.
Right.
Your gauge is going to be off. Your fabric is going to feel different. The stitches are going to look different. The texture is going to be different. All of those
Mhm.
things. So it is important to test and to play and to swatch with that good yarn. And I always feel like I want to reassure people that when you knit a test swatch for something, even just to practice, you can
Mhm.
use that yarn in your project. So it's not, the yarn is not going to waste. People knit the smallest swatch that they can. They get the little window on the Susan Bates thing. So they knit a swatch that's like 2 inches, and it doesn't tell you enough, and it doesn't give you enough room to really get a feel for how it's knitting up, how the fabric is going to feel,
Mhm.
and enough space to really measure your stitches.
Yep.
Oh, Sally says, I'm excited for the summit. This will be my third. I have learned
Yay.
so much and improved my skills. Oh, that's so
That's
wonderful, Sally.
awesome.
That really is fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about day 2 for the summit. So we have Anne from Bare Naked Wools, and she's talking about making texture pop, choosing yarns for best results, but
Mhm.
more focused on wools. She does a lot of undyed wools, different blends of wool yarn. So a really different outlook from Christine's presentation that is on day 2 and all about going beyond wool. Lisa is talking about double knitting 101, and she's going to guide you through knitting your first reversible double knit pot holder. And I've seen it. It's really cute. I think you're going to love it. Ashley is talking about stitch magic, turning knitting charts into stunning shawls. So for those who are ready to kind of dive in, and they've seen a stitch pattern for something and they want to use it, this talks about creating a chart for it and how to use it in a shawl. So I'm excited for that presentation. Lauren is talking about tricks for memorizing your knitting pattern. Lauren was in a previous life, Lauren was a lawyer, so she knows all about having to memorize big and complicated things. So she's the perfect person to talk about that. For those who are looking to dive into knitting stranded color work, like Fair Isle
Mm.
and all of that, Ethan is going to talk about how to do that with confidence. Mary Beth has a presentation on Fearless Nups, which is a type of stitch used in Estonian lace knitting. And she has some tips and tricks to make them easier because they can be a little bit difficult to knit. So she's got tips for us. And Alana is talking about what she calls color alchemy for knitters and also for dyers. And that is mostly the idea of working from like an inspiration image. So you find an image and you kind of pull colors from that and use that to guide your project. Some of the most beautiful color combinations come from nature. Like we wouldn't maybe think to put colors together, but if you look to nature, you can see some beautiful ways of combining colors that you might not have thought about. And I'm going to save you for last for this
That's
day so
great.
we can talk more about yours. Jessica from Snickerdoodle. So I'm Jessica, but she's also Jessica. She's going to talk about brioche knitting and explain that you really already know how to knit brioche. And she's going to break it down into simple steps so that you can understand how to do that. And Cheryl is talking about how to knit cables without a cable needle, which I'm currently knitting a full like cabled sweater. And so it has been so helpful to be able to put down the cable needle, except for those big cables that there's one that crosses and it's like 6 stitches. And so I need it
That's a lot. Yeah.
for that. It's just too much. But for smaller
Hmm.
cables, you don't actually need a cable needle. And that's great for knitting cables on the go, especially if you're someone like me who knits a lot in the car pickup line. And Marie is talking about stitching with intention, prayer shawls, meaningful making, how to not let it burn you out,
Hmm.
and how to give back to, to the world around you through your knitting. But now I want to give Christine a chance to talk all about her presentation. We called it Beyond Wool, Navigating Silk and Plant-Based Yarns with Confidence. So why don't you talk more about that?
Awesome. I sure will. And you'll see that like all my pictures, I have a handful of yarn. I just can't carry it around. It's one of my favorite things, like a little support animal, but it's a support skein. So it really, the main thing I'm going to be getting across is that different doesn't have to mean difficult. And there are so many different plant-based yarns and pure silk. Even though pure silk isn't a plant-based yarn, it reacts and acts a lot. It acts very similar. And they just act entirely different than wool. If you've ever done a project with a wool or with an acrylic or whatever, and have you ever had that experience where the wool just didn't, the yarn didn't want to become what you were wanting it to grow up to be? You have to listen to the yarn a little bit. Well, with the plant-based fibers, they're really loud. They will let you know this is not what I want to be. So the key of avoiding all that frustration is we're going to find the right types of fibers that work for the right types of projects. And then within them, I go into all kinds of depth of here are the life-saving tips. Here's how it's actually going to make this pleasant during your process, because I want you to enjoy it from the moment you find that yarn, pick it up, fall in love with it, to when you're knitting with it, and then at the final that you want to actually create something you will wear or use and love. So it's like the whole scheme, whether you're a process knitter or a project knitter, I am all of it. And even beforehand, I want you to do that. But there's just some different, every part of the process is different from the moment that I'm dyeing it. Excuse me, I have a little hiccup. The whole system is different from the point of how you prep the yarn, how you dye the yarn. And I ended up having, what I got very lucky with is my husband is a chemist. And so we were able to use his skills because it is such a different process that it just, it can be very overwhelming. And it took me a little while to get my system down. But now that I've got it, and I love making really saturated colors, but the textures are different. And what I love most about all of this is that if you pick the right pattern, the right techniques, and the right fibers and yarn, you're going to have something you can wear when it is 108 degrees outside, or it's muggy and humid, or if you're just one of those people that's always warm, or even just as a little layer underneath. So one of the things I wanted to show is this little Sophie scarf is one of my favorite things. It's a pattern that's used a lot of times. It's just like a garter stitch with little increases and decreases. And instead of just a swatch, sometimes I try to think of a little project that we can use to test out the different fibers. And if you have something that you can use, like a small face cloth or something that you actually will use and test out some of that yarn, you're going to be able to get the feels of it. And let's see, I'm not sure how much to go into depth on it, but the main things is we're going to talk about, like, I think 7 or 8 types of fibers that are very common and some of the best projects to pair them up with. And then I also have a list of tips for how to make your hands not hurt while you're doing this, how to get the fabric that you're creating, because it's very different in the fact that wool blooms, they call it blooms. And so when you have that stitch, like, oh, if you're close enough on gauge, you know, it'll block out, it'll stretch a little bit. You're not going to get that with a plant-based fiber or with pure silk. Every stitch is going to show. And as you're looking at things, sometimes it's going to show every single stitch to the point that some are big holes, some are little holes. And when you have wool and fibers that bounce back, that fills in the gaps, and this does not. So that can be a little intimidating, but when you get used to it, and we're going to talk about the right needles to use for the right yarns, we're going to pick the right things to do, and then the overall embracing a little bit of your not perfection. You cannot, every stitch is not going to look the same. And just basically that we want to think about what kind of fabrics that we're making. The fabric is totally different. It's going to be very drapey, but yet textures and lace are still a thing, and they can still be a thing and still hold on some of these fibers, some of these yarns. But it's just like a whole lot of experimenting, but it can be so overwhelming that I've really broken it down. We're going to go in through, I think, 6 different categories. Here's best project ideas for this type of yarn. Here's the lessons I learned the hard way. Like, not all plant-based yarns are going to be cool in the summer. My very first project with plant-based yarns was a thick worsted weight cotton, and it was a tight twist, and it was really dense, and that was the heaviest tank top I have ever made in my life. And it was really, it hurt my hands while I was knitting it because I was struggling and fighting against it, trying to make that gauge to make a pattern work that it wasn't written for. So we're going to get through all that and make it easier so you can go, oh, I want to make this. This is the kind of fiber I'm going to do. These are the things that are going to make my hands happy, and these are the things I'm going to love. So it's just, we go from everything. We talk about hemp and flax, and we talk about linen and bamboo and cotton and blends and pure silk. So I don't know if there's any other things that anybody had any questions, kind of an overall. If you can knit and purl, you can do anything with these fibers. And it's such, going into it the right mindset is just going to open up you're going to love knitting even more in those hot, warm summer months. If you're in a temperate, in Kansas City, we get all the seasons very much. Very hot, very cold, very in between. One day it's 90, the next day it's 40. We get all the things. But some of those days, you just don't want to be knitting a big, heavy blanket of wool or a big, heavy sweater. And actually getting to wear some of the things that you make is so lovely. And not only do you get to wear off what you make, but it like feels good and helps you stay cool and be fabulous and fashionable. So I'm going to make that a little bit easier and tempt you and give you kind of a little game plan to jump in there and try your first little bits of yarn.
Oh, that's amazing, Christine. I said, I'm so excited about your presentation, and I hope that everyone gets so much out of it. I want to go back and talk about the rest of what we're talking about during the summit. And then I'll explain how some of our upgrade options work and all of that stuff. So we wrapped up talking before about day 2. So on day 3 of the summit, we're talking a little bit more about the details that can make a difference, the fit adjustments, the little things that take a project from pretty good to I made it and I love it. So Megan is talking about perfect sleeve placement, because a lot of sweaters are written where there are an even number of stitches in the front and the back, and we're not all shaped that way. So she's talking about making that adjustment so you don't have fabric gathering up behind you because you really need it in other places maybe. Beth is talking about some small fixes that yield big results that give you a more professional finish. Bronwyn, who is my wonderful superhero tech editor, is talking about becoming at ease with ease. So understanding with a sweater or a garment or any type of, thing that you wear ease, whether it's the same size as the body or smaller or larger, understanding what that really all means, and understanding schematics that are in a pattern. Those are those little diagrams that give you the measurements. So she's going to explain all of that so that you can pick the right size for you or for your recipient.
I'm going to jump in and say you don't want to miss that one, because you put that much time, effort, and money into creating a sweater. You want to get the right amount of ease so that you will wear it and enjoy it. And that was one of the best things I ever learned with knitting. So don't miss hers. Just go ahead.
Awesome.
Yes.
Sana is talking about how to join knitted fabric with mattress stitch, and she's got 3 essential applications to demonstrate for you all. Kiara is talking about how much yarn do I actually need, with 5 ways to avoid yarn chicken. That's where you are racing to the end of the project and hoping that you get to the end before you get your yarn ball. Galaxy about math using dimensional analysis, which is a fancy and technical title to say that they're going to make knitting math easier. How to understand, the dimensions of a project and how much yarn is being used, and how to take that information and apply it to estimate your yarn and different things that you need to know as a knitter. but makes it really easy for you. Emily is a another tech editor who's joining us, and she's going to talk about how a tech editor works through a pattern and help you evaluate patterns, even if tech editing is not something that you're interested in, but how to understand whether this is a good pattern that you're going to be successful with, if it has different key elements. And Amanda, who is the first person I ever test knit for, she is teaching how to teach lefties to knit, which is something that comes up if you work in a yarn store, if you have friends or family that are left-handed, or if you yourself are left-handed. She'll also talk about those challenges. I myself have twin boys who are both left-handed.
Oh my goodness.
One, which is uncommon with twins. Sometimes you get like one lefty and one righty, but one that is more creative and more interested in knitting, and one who just wants to be left alone and watch sports. That's how that goes. Day 4, we slow things down a little bit. So there are no new pre-recorded presentations on the last day, on Sunday. Everything happening on Sunday is live. I am hosting a master class, a 2-hour class on how to fix your own knitting mistakes. The things that make you freeze, frog, or rip out your whole project, put it in a bag in timeout in the under the bed or in the corner of the room, and how to fix some of those things that that we all make. I've learned to fix mistakes because I've made all of the mistakes. And it's really the single thing, besides understanding ease and schematics and all of that, like Christine said, so that you can pick the right size to knit. The thing that has felt for me the most empowering is knowing that if I make a mistake, I can just rip back, just in that section of the pattern, work back down to it and rebuild those stitches without having to rip out hours of work. So that one is something I love to teach, and I've taught it a few times before. And I'm going to talk about basic mistakes that are super common that we, all encounter, like a drop stitch or a missing yarn over or accidental yarn over, things like that. And then I'm going to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to teach you how to fix a cable that went in the wrong direction. I like to say,
wow,
zigged instead of zagged. You don't have to do these things along with me. I'm going to show you how you would do that. And if time allows, which it should, I'm also planning to teach you, if you have like a dropped stitch on the edge of something that you're knitting flat, how you can fix that, because it's a little bit tricky.
That's amazing. Yes, that is truly, rather than just that terror when you realize you've messed something up and just being scared to move, being able to fix some of those things. Like, I want to learn how to fix the cable because I'm in the middle of a long cable scarf or shawl right now, and I've had to decide, am I just going to live with that one that's going the wrong way, or am I going to rip the whole thing back? Because I'm not sure how to do that. So I'm definitely tuning in for that one.
Oh, awesome.
So, but that's the best feeling, when you don't have that heart attack feel and that, oh, you're just like, no, I got it. No big deal. That's very empowering.
Awesome. So I want to show you, so this is all included for free along with the summit. We're also going to play some games. We're going to play bingo, and I have amazing prizes from our very generous speakers. So there's chances to win. There is also, I'm hosting a knitting challenge. I don't have the project here with me that's handy, but it is a little pouch. You can kind of adjust the size of it, but I made mine to be like a crossbody little pouch for my cell phone, because they don't put pockets in clothes often enough, and sometimes you need your hands free. So I'm going to teach you a cast on that you can use for knitting socks from the toe up. And I am going to teach you, I'll talk a little bit about different ways to knit in the round. And then we are going to talk about short rows. I am sharing my favorite techniques for different things. So, so day 1 is the cast on and knitting in the round in different ways. Day 2, I'm going to teach you about my favorite technique for short rows. And then on day 3 of the challenge, we're going to decorate the flap with some duplicate stitch, and I'll show you a little bit of some very simple like embroidery things that you can do to really personalize it and kind of make it your own. So just a couple little skills. We'll gather together each morning for a quick session, and all of that's recorded so you can join us for that. We also have speaker panels. So all of this is free. Speaker panels talking about our stash and how we organize and manage and try not to get overwhelmed. What to do when knitting gets hard. Sometimes we get, frustrated, have to frog a whole project, all of those things, because you can fix a lot of mistakes, but I'm going to share that unfortunately you can't fix everything. And sometimes, that can be disheartening. Like we put hours of time and energy into something, and maybe the yarn doesn't want to be the thing that we thought it wanted to be, or it's just not working out how we had hoped. So we're going to talk about that. And then the third panel is talking about those like shortcuts, tips, tricks, things that we wish we could have told our former knitter selves when we were beginning. So there's 3 live panels. So all of that is free, but I want to talk about the upgrade option. So there, throughout the page, there are different buttons. And I'm giving away a scholarship to my Stitch Society membership. So you'll hear more about that, and you can read about that. But the upgrade options, that's going to bring us back up to the top of the page. So you can just put in your name and your email address, and then click sign up now. And it's going to bring you to another page that looks like this. So the important thing to know is that everything that I already talked about is 100% free. It even says here at the top of the page, your free ticket is already on its way to your inbox. But while you wait, I have this other offer for you. So if you are excited to keep learning and growing, we have the Happy Knitters Toolkit. For the first 30 minutes after you sign up, there is a fast action takers price that is the lowest price that you will see. And that includes, so you get it for $67 if you grab it within that first 30 minutes. There are $875 worth of knitting workshops and courses, and extra bonus live stitch sessions. We'll have 2 Zoom stitch sessions that everyone is invited to, and then 2 that are just for people who have upgraded their ticket to the toolkit. And then knitting pattern bundles and ebooks and all kinds of amazing resources to help you. And you also get with this ongoing access to all of the presentations. So that means that even though with the free ticket, you get 48 hours to access everything, if you purchase the upgrade, and there are 2 options, I'll talk about those both, then you get ongoing access to everything for a minimum of 2 years, but really as long as I am in business beyond that, and I'm having way too much fun. I have no plans of going anywhere. This life, I feel, honestly, I feel blessed that I can take this thing that I love, and that it's what I get to wake up and do every morning, every day, all day.
That's amazing. And actually, in that free that huge bundle of the things that you get, I have a very detailed, goes into so many things. It's such a great resource that I've created. I think it's like, I don't know, 10 or 12 pages worth of all the breakdowns and everything we go over, and way more in depth than what we can go over in the video presentation. So there is one in there about working with the plant-based yarns as well. That's a really good resource and has all the things that you need to know.
Yes, our speakers were just incredibly generous to share their resources. These are things that they wouldn't normally give away for free. These are things that they would typically charge for. And so in order to contribute to this toolkit, they have very generously offered. So sometimes it's things where you'll sign up for the speaker's email list. Sometimes it's a coupon code on their website. So different ways to access them, but all of those details you'll get after you sign up and get access. So like I said, so early and ongoing presentation access, what that means, instead of waiting for each day the 8 to 10 presentations, instead on May 14th, when the summit starts, you'll get access to everything. So on day 1, you can watch a presentation from day 3. ongoing and unlimited access to all of the content to watch at your own pace and come back to it whenever you want. So let's say that um, you're not super into cable knitting right now. The weather's getting warmer, you're focused on lace knitting, but maybe the weather turns cooler and now you want to knit something with a cable, and then you remember, oh, there was that lesson on how to knit cables without a cable needle. So you can come back and revisit those lessons anytime that you want them. There are also, one of my favorite things, presentation guides. So these are pre-written notes that I have made for you. I call them light bulb moment guides. So they're takeaways from each presentation with a quick refresher anytime you need it. So you can, if you happen to, you can save them on your computer, you can print them out and put them in a binder. And so you can refer back to those tips, and it will help you remember which presenter was talking about which topic. Like I mentioned, there are 2 bonus stitch sessions on Zoom that you'll be invited to. Also, everyone that purchases the toolkit gets 30 days free in my Stitch Society membership. Everyone else that doesn't purchase it gets 2 weeks, 14 days free, but you get 30 days with the toolkit and then all of the goodies. So I want to scroll down a little bit and show you, we do also have 2 different options, because my goal is always to make things as accessible and attainable as I can for you wherever you are. So you're absolutely welcome. We would love to have you join us at the free level. The toolkit is where you get all of the bonuses and extra stitch sessions and all of that stuff. But maybe that's not for you. So you would like maybe the ongoing access and those light bulb moments. So that we do also have an extended access pass. The thing about these upgrade options, so I do first want to say that all of the speakers are paid. I do pay them for their contribution to the event, but the speakers have the ability to earn a little bit extra money. And this is a hard business and none of us are rolling in it. And so this is a way that you can help support Christine. So by clicking on her link, you'll be tagged as one of her people in my system. And then if you do, after signing up, if you do make a purchase of either of these options, she'll receive a commission, a portion of the sale price, the purchase price. The other thing that I do, because giving back to the world is important to me, part of this doesn't come out of the speaker's portion. It comes out of my profit after I've paid for all the things, and what is left, I take a portion, and this is the 3rd time I'm doing it. I am donating a portion of the profit to World Central Kitchen, which is a wonderful global organization that helps feed people going through difficult times in natural disasters and war zones. They typically are first on the ground in hurricanes and floods and fires and just things you wouldn't wish, on anyone. And it is run by a chef. It was founded by a chef named Jose Andreas. There is, I think it's on Netflix, maybe, a wonderful documentary about the organization that was directed by Ron Howard. So if you want something to watch while you knit, I highly recommend it. So you can learn more about them. But they arrive and they are set up almost immediately to just provide food, sandwiches, because when you're hungry, you just need something. And then as they are there, that he connects with other chefs in the area. So if this area is going through, a really terrible time, people are not packing into, the fine dining establishments, but those chefs have local connections and the ability to mass produce food. And so they get together and they produce tons and tons of food to feed the people. They also coordinate with the local residents so that they are feeding comfort food, the things that community finds comforting, not, the little teeny tiny bit of food that you get on a fancy plate in the 5-star restaurant, but he's, whatever would be like a warm hug to that community. So that's what they are doing. So
they do an amazing job. I didn't know that about that you have donated for the last few years. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a wonderful organization, and it is one of those organizations where the money goes to help the people. It's not, one of these big bloated charities that have an executive board of, so
Yeah,
many people, and like
agreed.
people get 30 cents on the dollar. I don't know exactly, but they are a registered charity. So if you want to look into them more, I
Mhm.
know that information is publicly available. So let's talk about those bonuses though. So premium bonuses include things like workshops, guides, ebooks, knitting pattern bundles. So I'm giving my Tiny Treasures mini stocking workshops. You can learn to knit socks from the top, from the cuff down to the toe. And then there are guides and ebooks. So has a gradient palette planner. Bronwyn has a 30-page ebook for you packed with mnemonics and pro tips to make your knitting life easier, plus a free pattern. Ashley has a Design Your First Shawl ebook. So if you have been wanting to get into designing patterns and shawls, that's a great thing for you. Joy has a Slip Stitch Colorwork Starter Guide for you. This is Christine's gift, Smooth Sailing, a guide to knitting with silk and plant-based yarns. So practical tips, quick reference tools, finished
Mhm.
pieces you'll love to wear, not just ones you struggle to make. I love that.
And in there, I even have one page that I actually personally print out and keep. It's kind of like the summary of all of them, the quick tips. And that's something that I've printed out and I've got over near me to remind when I'm working with unusual fibers as well. So
Awesome.
I love that.
And Emily, who is teaching about how a tech editor works through Pattern, has Pattern Confidence Workbook. So a confidence building checklist for makers, designers, and tech editors who want to evaluate a pattern before they commit to it. Lisa has the Pocket Engineering Decision Tree to help you. It's a planning framework to help you create sweater pockets that are beautiful and structurally sound. So no saggy pockets. Katie has 25 knitting techniques and tricks for you. Rachel has the Intentional Yarn Show Kit. So a practical companion for calmer, more confident yarn show visits.
That is huge. I do quite a few yarn shows and I just see the overwhelm. And then you hear, you get home and you bought these pretty yarns, but what am I going to do? That really having a game plan is amazing.
It really is. I
Super
went
valuable.
to Rhinebeck for the first time this fall, and the initial feeling of like, oh, I'll get one of this and one of that and one of the other, and then you've got all of these different beautiful skeins, but
Mhm.
they don't all necessarily come together in a project, and so then you're looking for just one skein project. So it's much better to have a
Have a plan.
pre-organized plan. So I love that she has that for you all. You get a $40 pattern shopping spree from me. uh,
Ooh.
Anne has an ebook, Texture That Speaks, so that you can bring your stitches to life. And Jill has a Technique Shawl pattern bundle. And Hortense has her Wear It Proud knitting pattern collection. Megan has a 6 pattern bundle that includes cardigans and socks and headbands and sweaters. And Janessa has a spring themed knitting pattern bundle. Amanda has her VIP pattern bundle, her most loved, most popular knitting pattern.
Mhm.
And Jessica has her brioche breakthrough bundle. So you'll get
Mm.
any yarn brioche cowl and any yarn brioche scarf, plus some comprehensive references. Kirsten has a lace knitting pattern bundle. Lisa has a double knitting pattern bundle. These are so cute, her designs. Counting Sheep, Herding Cats, Book Lovers, and Celtic Fantasy. And Sana has the Language of Stitches, so it helps you understand the mattress stitch with 2 beginner-friendly patterns to practice your seams.
Mm.
And Kiara has a socks and sweater pattern bundle. So many patterns that you
No,
can really have a whole library of anything that you might be dreaming of.
it's a huge value. Like I mean, just a couple of patterns adds up to more than what you've got as the total. That's amazing.
It does, yeah. Dawn has Tell Your Story in Yarn. So it is her unique method of applied I-cord that lets you draw on your knitting. So there's a cowl, an alphabet, and a headband. I think that's all the bonuses, all the goodies.
So funny.
And yeah, so again, World Central Kitchen, a portion of my
Love that.
profits from the event, because I think that we can really make a difference together. So there are two options, like I mentioned. The extended access is just the replays and the notes. So within that first 30 minutes, it's $47, or you can get the replays, the notes, and all of the bonuses at $67. So you can click on, oh, I have to fix that. That shouldn't be there. Whoops. That's the link.
Life.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna fix that when we get off the call. And you can read through what past attendees have had to say. And so you can grab either of those options for the summit.
So fun. And I apologize for all my the allergies are going crazy with the weather out here in Kansas City, so I'm kind of a little sniffly.
I didn't notice, so we're good. Laura says when she goes to shows, she leaves her charge cards at home and only brings a budgeted amount of cash to Rhinebeck. That's one way to do it. I'm too weak to do that.
That gives me heart palpitations. I think I'd stress out if I found the perfect thing, though.
Yeah. And
good tips.
Oh, yay! I'm already signed up and can't wait till we start. So again, I want to make sure I put that link on the screen. And if anyone has any questions about the summit or about Christine and her yarns, please feel free to ask us. Otherwise, we will wrap things up. Oh, so here's something that I get asked a lot. So if someone wants to knit, like say a chemo cap, and they often are wondering, they don't want to use wool because maybe an allergies or maybe it's scratchy. So what fiber would you recommend for that type of a project?
I would actually recommend a silk blend, because that way it's going to feel good against them, or even something with a little bit of bamboo and linen. Straight bamboo is a little bit hard to work with. I've found it can stretch so much and it's so much drape that a hat would be really difficult in straight bamboo. The yarn that I've fallen in love with, and it's my new jam, is it's a bamboo linen blend. And so you can kind of see the sheen. It's a little more affordable than pure silk, but it's lovely. But either one of those, something that feels soft and smooth against the skin, but still has just a little bit of structure. Either pure silk, even though it's very drapey, it also is one of the strongest fibers. It's going to hold together well, and it will feel good against the skin. Or something with just a little bit of linen, not enough to make it crunchy and scratchy, but just enough that you want it against your skin, could absolutely be that. And then when you're doing that, we want to pick something that isn't a solid ribbing through the whole thing. We want to find a way that's going to be more of a drapey. A little bit of ribbing towards the end is absolutely fine, but I would caution anybody from doing like something that has to have a lot of bounce back, because you're not going to get that. But absolutely a silk blend, and even one that has one of the wools that's like a merino wool or an alpaca or cashmere. Oh my gosh, if you did cashmere and silk. One of my other yarns that does have a little bit of protein in it, I have one that's baby alpaca, cashmere, and silk. And that, when you touch it, all you want is to hold it against you. So the main thing is do the face test on your yarn. Think about the fibers, but if you're actually at a show or in a shop where you can touch it and feel it, is there any scratchiness at all? And so the people can be very irritated when they're going through chemo and going through some of those. And you want to still have you want to stay warm. Silk keeps you warm when you're cold and cool when you're hot, which is pretty miraculous. So anything with silk, absolutely. And if you want to do a little bit more budget, something that's like a soft plant blend.
That's really great information. I know, unfortunately, a lot of people are faced with those struggles or have loved ones that are, and that comes up a lot because it's a gift from the heart, and you want it to be something that they're going to enjoy wearing, and it will bring them comfort.
And sometimes even instead of a hat, I had an aunt who, she's like, I got hats from everyone I knew, which is great. Like, we love that knitters are like, okay, I'm on it. I'm going to knit that chemo cap for you right now. But she said what meant the most of her was when she would actually go into her different, sitting on the chair, getting the treatments, being in the room, she just wanted something light that she could hold over her. So
Mm.
almost like a shawl, like a big rectangular shawl, or something that could double as a little blankie, was the thing that she just treasured more than everything. It went to all of her appointments with her. She could, clean it when she needed. But it just that feel that you had, kind of like your little security blanket. So something that you could just kind of hold on you that feels good. And again, just that feel test is what it is. And there's so many nice blends out there that we can play with and find some solutions for. So another option beside, first check and see if they need hats. And
Yeah.
if they've got lots of hats, just do some kind of a lovely shawl. And whether or not they wear it as a shawl, you can tell them, hey, it doubles as your blankie. And that's just a wonderful, it's like you're giving them a hug, with something that feels good that they're going to want next to their skin.
Yeah. Oh, that's really great advice. Thank you
Mhm.
for sharing that. Because we knitters, I think, love a good cause, right?
Right.
We love,
And we want to help. We
we
absolutely want to help. And we
we
love
want
sending something
good.
that is like a hug, and where you're sending your time, effort, and love. Like if they're knit worthy, then you want to knit for them. So knitters are awesome people.
Yes. But that's true. A lot of people rush to go. The hat is the first thing that they go for, and they may appreciate, like you said, a small comfort blanket,
Mm-hmm.
shawl, and they can then wear that, after as well.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. More yarn show talk. Callan says, I sleep on it before spending big, but for everyday life things, I make a list of what to buy. And if
Mm-hmm.
it's not on it, I don't get it. That is willpower.
That's a lot of willpower that I don't
I
have.
applaud you for that willpower. That's awesome.
I
All
think
right.
also she's going to probably go into, and because I looked at we got access to some of the goodies as a speaker. And I will say one thing that it really has helped me go into shows, because even though I'm a dyer, I still have a huge yarn stash and I have the addiction just like everybody else. But like getting into your stash, and I think there was something on there like organizing your stash, or one of the panels were talking about that. So knowing what you have and what you're missing before
Mm.
you go can absolutely help. And I think like the printed one that you've actually got a plan. Oh my gosh, what a great idea. Because a lot of times you're at a show with bad internet, or you get you got nothing. And then you can't just scroll your stash on Ravelry. So having some kind of a true game plan can help with overwhelm and let you get something that you're going to use and love.
Yeah, that's a fabulous idea, especially that the point about the internet being slow or just not quite connecting, and you have this plan of like, oh, I'll while I'm in the booth, I'll look up patterns.
How much yarn does that need? What was this? But yeah, that happens a lot in my booth, and we're just sitting there because internet. There's so many people. You've got the vendors, you've got the shoppers, you've got everyone else doing the same thing, and
Mhm.
most likely it might be in a remote place that doesn't have great internet to start with. So
Yeah.
that having a printed plan is a game changer. So I think that's part of one of the bonuses in there.
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, friends. So again, we
Yay.
start on Thursday. Don't miss us.
It's coming
And
soon.
if you already signed up, but you um, haven't upgraded yet, you can still do that. But definitely use Christine's link, knithappysummit.com/treasure goddess. Check out her beautiful yarns. And she does also, if you sign up, I believe you have a discount for people as they
Yes.
watch your presentation and learn about your yarns. There's a discount code, but you have to
And
come
there
to
is.
the summit to get the code.
Got to come to the summit. It really is a fun thing. I've been an attendee for a while, so I'm really excited to be a presenter and share some of the things that I've learned. And there's some great topics in there. So the cabling without a cable needle, I'm thinking about learning a little bit about, because I think that would make my life easier. But the fixing the cable, that's going to be watched for sure.
Yes, absolutely. All right, friends. Well, thank you again, everyone, for coming to hang out with us, and also to everyone who is watching this on their replay, whether you're watching on my channel or on Christine's. And we can't wait to see you on Thursday. And that's just beautiful yarn. I just
Can't
want
help
to
it. It's so
pet
fun.
it.
So nice to meet you guys, and we'll see
Yeah.
you soon at the summit.
All right. Take care, friends. Bye bye.
Bye.